Hello and welcome. Serious responsibility fell upon his shoulders in October of 2010 when his father passed away, leaving him the ruler of a small but important nation emerging in the Middle East. With an open mind and a view to modernizing the small emirate he rules, he's declared himself open for business. This week on 101, meet the charismatic, Western-educated ruler of Ras Al Khaimah, Sheikh Saud bin Saqr al Qasimi.
It was a very different world in the 1960s and 70s as he was growing up. The United Arab Emirates was just finding its feet in the post-colonial era of the Middle East, and there was little infrastructure to challenge the endless expanse of desert. For the young Sheikh Saud bin Saqr al Qasimi, it was still a world where tribal loyalties dictated how deals were done and rules were laid down. But benefiting from a Western education at the University of Michigan and armed with an MBA, he returned to Ras Al Khaimah and started to build the Emirates' industries, particularly cement, aggregates and ceramics. Seeing this progress, his father, Sheikh Saqr, took the controversial step in 2003 of making Saud crown prince, creating friction with his older half-brother Khalid and triggering some local unrest, which was quickly settled with the support of the leaders of the other emirates. It has now left Sheikh Saud, who appointed his eldest son Mohammed crown prince, free to pursue his determined agenda to push Ras Al Khaimah firmly into the 21st century.
Your Highness, it's wonderful to have some time with you. Thank you, sir.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
You know, you're part of the new wave of leaders in the Middle East, those who, see the need to balance tradition and culture in the region with the need to modernize and be integrated into a rapidly globalized world. So I wonder, what's your philosophy on how to achieve that balance?
I think for us today, we need to understand our strength comes from being in touch with our people, for being 100% devoted to the benefit of our country, to understand that through education, through empowerment of our people, all of them, to guide them through the change that they need to do, and to always be responsive to them, in touch with them, interact with them, and lead them to a better future.
Of course, you're described often in interviews as a pragmatist as much as a visionary, which means, of course, that you have to go with the times sometimes, but you've got your vision set. How much do you find often when circumstances change, economic stresses and so on, that you have to sacrifice that vision to be pragmatic, to go with the times? I mean, are you able to maintain your vision and stick by it?
Life is not constant, it's changing every day. I think wise leadership, to have wisdom, is not to lose bravery. To have bravery, you shouldn't throw wisdom. Both have to go in hand. And I think it's very important to have a vision, but also to make sure that that vision is true and valid. And it's very important as well to make sure that not every day you have a different vision.
Now, of course, we've seen the region go through what's being called the Arab Spring, and I wonder how much you see that as really redefining, reshaping the Middle East. And in particular, when you look at the uprisings, has it really forced leaders to think again in this part of the world and how they move forward?
This is, I think, what I call stress test. I really believe in countries who have real roots, countries that have real legitimacy. This is a chance for them to actually prevail and to win and to become safe havens, and actually to adapt, to improve, and to develop their countries to become leaders.
I want to take you back then to your childhood. You were actually born in Al Maktoum Hospital in Dubai. And I think about that time, of course, Ras Al Khaimah and the UAE were a very different place. And I wonder what your earliest childhood memories were of that time.
Total different landscape, lovely people. But I tell you, think about how they managed to survive. Think how they done the pearling, how they done the seafaring between the Emirates to Africa to India. These are tough people who understood that to succeed, you have to be organized. And I think really I do remember how people, how they helped each other. They used to have like a winter place and a summer place, and how people, communities, actually moved, and they have helped each other to build their, their Barasti housing. And you see communities from Umm al-Gawain, from Sharjah, from Ajman coming up, springing up, and the spirit of being together. They look after each other, and how they took care of even of their cleanliness, about how the housewives, the people, clean their streets, clean their houses. It's like a competition for being better.
There was very little around at that time, wasn't there, in terms of infrastructure?
Yes. To travel from Dubai to Ras Al Khaimah, or from Ras Al Khaimah to Dubai, or to travel from Ras Al Khaimah to, say, Masafi, Fujairah, there's no asphalt road. And so we go by the beach. During low tide, we go by the beach. That's the best route. Now, sometimes, of course, you have high tide, and then you are unlucky, and then you go through the sand dunes, and you get stuck. It's unforgettable memories.
Was it a happy childhood? Was it like, did you have a lot to do?
Oh, lovely, lovely for me. It's the greatest moment for me, of course, is my father's, so to be around him, to share his love, and to see him how he handles people, how he handled his daily life. It's a great honor.
Your father, Sheikh Saud, was actually, here seeing the creation of the United Arab Emirates in 1971. Ras Al Khaimah joined in 1972. At that time, you were a teenager. What went through your mind with the emotion, I guess, of the creation of a new country and the federation as well?
Of course, it's a great step, of course. I think everybody knew that there had to be a federation, but it's how to structure it. There were some different opinions, and it's a big step. So it was, I was lucky in a sense to see the meetings around, to listen to my dad, to listen to, late Sheikh Zayed, Sheikh Rashid, to see all the rulers. And as a young man, it was really like a great honor, great opportunity to see how they differed and how they agreed, how they negotiated, and how they really tackled how to build the new architecture of the new country.
Now, of course, your father was a very strong man. He was a very prominent man, the Al Qasimi tribe, of course, being very strong. What characteristics do you think you got from your father? What reflection of him do you see in yourself?
There are certain traits what I really value in him, really. He's punctual, like an electronic watch. Number two, he's a routine man. He likes to work, so he likes to wake up early. And he does his walking every day. Number two, he has great tolerance for stress.
What about your mother, Sheikh Mahra? How did she shape you?
My mother is, she comes from Dubai, and it was a great change for me and to go from Dubai and to live here, and it is how he shared her love to me, and how she, of course, supported me in going to study, and how she, love is a great gift that we can get from our parents. It gives us the energy to go the extra mile. It gives us, the endurance.
And of course, her father was a very prominent businessman from Dubai, Ahmed Al Ghurair, big family, of course, the Ghurair family. In terms of him being your grandfather, how much do you think that kind of business savvy rubbed off on you?
He's a great time manager. So he will sit with you in a meeting, and you think you own him. Actually, he owns you. He knows how to see you and see others and manage you in the time he wants. It's a great thing, without making you feel insulted. And he has got an open majlis, yet he is very successful in business. He's got very shrewd, far-sighted vision of business.
Of course, your father was from that very more traditional Islamic Arabian background, a number of children from a number of wives. Your mother was the fourth wife. For those who don't understand the traditions and cultures of this region, explain how that dynamic works. When you have that kind of extended family, how does everyone fit in together?
I'm lucky, actually, in the sense my father is unique, really unique. He's for all my brothers and sisters, he knew how to be a father to all. You know, my eldest sister, you know, he made sure she goes to Cairo to be educated. He felt it's very important for her. I mean, he took care of every child of his to be educated. He did not really differentiate. He did, you know, he knew his responsibilities. You know, as a ruler, you know, he knew how to actually take care of his people, though they were diverse, of different backgrounds. He knew for him to look after his own personal family, it was a simpler test.
It's interesting because your father became the ruler of Ras Al Khaimah in 1948 when he took over in a bloodless coup from his uncle and father-in-law, Sheikh Saud bin Saqr al Qasimi. And it's the history of the region, not just, of course, here in Ras Al Khaimah, but it's in the history of the region where you do get this transition of power, often through this, where the relatives take over. What is it about the nature of this region that makes that happen often?
You know, our family has been a ruling family for centuries. And, you know, as a family, they have a responsibility. They have a duty to the name of their family, to their country. And they feel a responsibility how it is governed. So I think my father felt his duties. He loved his uncle, he respected his uncle, but he felt his duty to his country and to look after his country, how to progress his country, how to develop his emirate.
I have to ask you about your life as a student, because you studied in Ras Al Khaimah through the early years, but at 17 you went off to Beirut to study at the American University of Beirut, and then 2 years later, in 1975, the war broke out. Tell me about your experience there.
You know, Lebanon was miles away in terms of development, its education. It was a great leap for me, great transformation to see Lebanon from a different perspective, because I used to go as a tourist. It's a great experience to see the Lebanese who are educated, who you know, to meet them as friends, and to see actually the diversity of Lebanon and the diversity of the student body who come from everywhere. But it gave me a window as a student there to see the cracks in the system, to see the challenges in the system, to see the Palestinians, to see the problem with Israel, the problem between the phalanges and different groups, to see how the system was going through major, you know, tectonic movements that is unavoidable. I actually left before the war broke out.
You could sense the tension, though, could you, before you left?
Yes, because you could see two trains hitting each other. A pity. Lovely country.
You transferred to University of Michigan in the USA to continue your studies, where you completed your degree in economics and political science, and then a master in economics and public policy. And you were thinking about continuing your studies at Yale or Columbia University, but then your father called you back to Ras Al Khaimah. Why was that?
Oh, I was in summer here, and my dad felt, you know, strange, really. I couldn't understand it at that time. He felt he needed someone. He felt he needed his son. He needed someone to help him out. I couldn't convince him. I tried to beg him. I tried to talk him out. You know, America was such a lovely place, you know, at that time. You go to the West Coast, you go any place, it's really beautiful. American people are very, very friendly and hard-working people. You know, for us, those times, you know, even to what was telephones, the ability to travel thousands of kilometers without a passport, to drive through the highways.
I wonder how that time in America prepared you for coming back to Ras Al Khaimah. What did it give you that allowed you to be that much further ahead, to take that extra step when you got here?
I could see our ability to really to transform. I felt like a duty on all of us. You know, that all of us who were sent to be educated, that we have some duty, we have an opportunity, you know, a privilege.
A defining moment for you, sir, was when you became the ruler of your people. When your late father passed away, of course, in October of 2010. You as Crown Prince were already very active, but I wonder what went through your mind when suddenly you became the ruler of your people.
You know, you never, as much as you know that one time your father's going to die and pass away. And you see it every day. You hear about it every day. Yet, when you go through it, it's of course, you know, something you never really can say, I'm ready for it. Not 100%. And at the same time, people are congratulating you, coming to you. They have huge expectations. All of a sudden, you see the passing of responsibility is on you. There is nobody there. So all of a sudden, you know that you are on your own. So it's a great responsibility.
Interestingly enough, as Crown Prince, you transformed the economy of Ras Al Khaimah, and it was at a time when the economy in general in the world and in the region too was taking quite a hit. So I wonder how it was you took on that challenge and how you were able to overcome the stresses of the economic system around you and yet still be able to create some kind of value for the country.
We knew our successes. We have some early successes in certain sectors like industry. I want to build around that to create industrial success. So, you know, I made possible for anybody who wants to set up an industry, a business, that there is an industrial park. And I created as well the legal infrastructure. So if someone wants to have a license to have an industry, not only he can have an access to land at competitive rates, at competitive conditions, but he has very efficient process. It's just one day. At the same time, I looked as well to develop in Ras Al Khaimah, to capture the history of Ras Al Khaimah, but to make it, repackage it to become relevant to the modern time. And it is tourism, because in the past, people from the rest of the Emirates used to take their summertime in Ras Al Khaimah. I wanted actually repackage it. The same choice that was valid for thousands of years, I want to say it should be valid now in the future. So we redesigned to take advantage of our beaches, our sand dunes, our mountains, and our history, so it becomes a nice product. And that's what we've been trying to do.
Did you meet any resistance to this effort to modernize that way?
You know, people always will have a different reaction. I think it's my duty as a leader to listen to everybody, to different viewpoints, and really engage them to make sure that I heard them. But finally, I have to do what is good for them, for the country. So, and it's not success there, it's not happens in one day. It's every step that counts. And so I hope is that with the passage of time, you have more people seeing what I'm doing.
Of course, I mentioned a defining moment being the point where you took over as ruler of your country. What do you see as the defining moments in your life?
When my father passed away, of course, before he passed away, all the time he was in hospital was a trial for me. To say, okay, it's one day, it's 1 week, it's 1 month, several months. And I really asking myself, what can I do to do for him? And it was a trial period for me to know that, you know, he had the opportunity to talk to me and to see his eyes and to see the language he was speaking to me and how much he wanted me to do. So when he actually died, it was a very defining moment for me. I knew, you know, what I need to do. I knew that if I had the motivation, I have to double my motivation.
What is it about this part of the world in particular, the UAE, for example, that you feel makes it less vulnerable to the kind of changes we've seen during the Arab Spring, where people are demanding the people power, the street power?
If you see each ruler here has deep roots with his people. He's a leader, yes, but he's a father, he's a friend, he's a brother. So he's not far away from his people. He sleeps, he works, he dreams for his people. He's connected to his people. We have the open majlis. To be a ruler, it means you have to have an open majlis. It means you have adopted as children all of the people who live there. This is a tradition. It's not written by decree. It's written by tradition.
It's interesting, your father made a very controversial decision by replacing the previous Crown Prince, your half-brother, Sheikh Khalid, with you as Crown Prince, which I know caused a bit of unrest and media publicity and so on. And I wonder, what, you know, of course, how you reacted to that decision, and then how really you were able to bring back that kind of, bring the people behind you again.
My father took time to decide for that. It wasn't like something I was looking for. It was more or less a choice. I had no choice. And it's, my father asked me to do my duty to my emirate. He asked me to, for the sake of my family, for the sake of my people, for the sake of my country. He said, I want to live, but I know I can't live forever. I want to leave this emirate in the custody of someone I can trust.
And of course, he reigned more than 60 years. He was the longest-serving, second longest-serving ruler, I think, and the oldest reigning ruler for that time. What sort of legacy do you think he has left? What's the strongest part of his legacy?
His passion for education, his connectivity to his people. He's a very brave man, but he's not arrogant. He's the humblest person you could find, very accessible. You know, my father, when he decided to change my brother, you know, he prayed. We call it the prayer of choice. So he prayed many times, the prayer of choice. He's a very faithful guy to know why he's doing it. My father is a great, faithful guy who believes in God, who believes in the good of humanity, and he believes in that people have a duty in life.
And Your Highness, he chose you to take on that responsibility. How would you like your legacy to be? How would you like to be remembered?
I wish I just want to live to his dreams. That's really. I wish I can really allow my people, our young men and women, to have a better future. I want to see them successful in business. I want to see how I can be helpful to them. I want to see that I have done a difference to them.
Your Highness, I wish you a lot of luck with that. Thank you very much, sir, for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.